Welcome to the Everyday Millionaire Show with Ryan Greenberg and Nick Kalfas.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Everyday Millionaire Show. We're here with Ryan and Chase. We're doing a solo pod today. How are you guys doing?
I think I was better at the intro.
Yeah, I think I fucked it up for a second.
Yeah, it's okay. You'll get it one day. I'm doing good, Nick. How are you?
Pretty good.
Chase?
Oh, we're kicking.
Dealt with a little tsunami coming down here. That was a really bad storm, but I made it.
Yeah, I was worried because we're at the new studio now. Last week, this office lost power for like 2 days during one of those crazy storms. So I was like telling Chase as we were setting all this stuff up, I said, watch, as soon as we set all this up, it's going to go out, and then it starts flickering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Luckily, the storm has passed.
Well, this is the type of storm that would have done that. It was like lightning everywhere.
Yeah. The wind was crazy too.
Yep.
So we were actually on the phone with somebody as we came in. Chase got a call from one of the agents on our team, and she had a leak in her house. And I was just like, yep, leaks. That's the thing. That's the thing that's what I'm going to be dealing with for the next 2 days. After every rain, we get 10 to 15 phone calls with roof leaks, gutter leaks, basement leaks, you name it, leaks. So Nick, we'll first talk about, Chase asked about what you've been doing, talk about cleaning up your portfolio. I guess let's do a little debrief on what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time coming, cleaning up the rental portfolio as I was growing and just buying nonstop. I wasn't as focused in on what properties I should start eliminating, properties that aren't cash flowing to my liking, properties that may be a lot of construction work that needed to be done if they need to be turned over. Some of those properties were bought occupied, so they had already been outdated for many years, and I just know that the day will come when those tenants move out, and I have to put in a lot of money into those properties just to get them turned over. One specifically I'm auctioning off tomorrow. It's a duplex, but it's a mixed use. It's a convenience store on the bottom, one apartment unit upstairs. I've had this property with hard money for the last three and a half years now.
Jeez.
And wow. I didn't pay any additional points. It's just been a straight 12%. I'm not cash flowing. I'm just essentially breaking even right now. But it would be nice just to get that off my books. And because at the beginning when I first bought that, I was going to refinance it, but it was extremely difficult to find a lender at that time to refinance the mixed use because they wanted the apartment to be more than 51% of the whole entire thing, and the store was almost even or a little bit bigger than the apartment. So,
yeah, you just got to go through a commercial refi with the bank at that point. We're doing one for this office right now. The appraisal was $4,000 for this office, for this 1,500 square foot office space, just the appraisal. Luckily, the one thing that's good about these bank loans, though, once you have all your the paperwork in, it's kind of good for a while. And if you just update it every 6 months, it's kind of an easy process. Like we had a lot of our stuff already kind of done, and then we just re-updated it and got all the paperwork in, and there's no origination fee. So you're saving a good amount of money by, when you go DSCR, you're paying an origination fee, you're paying extra percent on top of the interest rate. So you do save some money there, but being self-employed and having 12 different LLCs makes it very complicated. And
you had your banker come to your house, right? And
yeah.
I sit down and go through everything.
I had, Eric the banker, shout out to him, Insure United, because he came to my house, and I was like, the only way this is actually going to get done and updated properly is if you come here and sit with me and make me do it and go through each line and figure this shit out. And it's difficult, especially when you have multiple partners. Chase is a partner on one of the LLCs, not a partner in the other one, so we have to break apart all that money, and they want to see every single LLC, because if one was completely bankrupted, even if one had $1 million and one lost $2 million, they would see a loss of $1 million. So they really dig through every single thing that you have and that you own, and it's stressful. But once you have that PFS, that personal financial statement, completed, and you just update it every 6 months. We have to update ours again in a couple months after we sell some stuff and do, basically every 3 to 6 months you should be
Do your
updating.
accountants handle that, or is it something you just have to go through?
So the accountants and the bookkeeper handle like our profit and loss statements, our balance sheets. So they update all like the assets. Like we just went through it with this PFS. It was all the trucks that we just bought, because those get added as equity in the company or whatever. They're, you know, an asset of the company. So they handle all that. And then as far as like the personal financial statement, I handle that because it's all the businesses plus whatever I have personally. And then my wife is included in that. So like, it's just, it's a lot. But yeah, the accountants handle part of it. We handle part of it. And I just had the banker come to my house, and that's what having a good relationship with a bank and somebody that works at the bank is super important, because I would probably have missed some stuff and gotten dragged through the mud with the underwriters and all that stuff if he had not been like, this is exactly how we want to see it. He made the format. He put it all into a spreadsheet for me. So that was super helpful.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, in order to get to that point, you need a really good accountant and a really good bookkeeper. And I finally hired a bookkeeper a couple months ago. And it's a game changer, because I used to just go through everything myself. I do love numbers, but it was super overwhelming. And I would not, suggest that someone else goes through that same pain that I'm sure you guys went through it also without having a bookkeeper at first. But hiring that bookkeeper, it's like she's in all the accounts. She's seeing all the credit card transactions, all the Home Depot transactions, and she's in charge of all that. If she has questions at the end of the month, it's easier for me to answer at the end of the month than me trying to gather 12 months of information over the course of the year prior.
So more than even just once a month, I'll tell you a little story about when we were at the Real Estate Rumble, which was huge success. We won.
Yeah.
We won the Rumble. What it was an adult field day, basically. And they had it. We were up against a bunch of middle-aged women brokerages, and it was just like a bunch of us. Like triathletes and big.
Yeah, we put together a team.
We put together a real team.
And I told them, I said, listen, when we come, we're coming. Don't you worry. And they were like, oh, well, Phil Gerd said the same thing last year, and he came in last place. And I was like, I promise you that will not happen with us.
Phil Gerds was the announcer, and he was like, this team looks like they got a bunch of bodybuilders that they recruited to be on this team. But anyway, the day of the Real Estate Rumble, I got a call from Karen, my bookkeeper, at 11 a.m., saying that a check that we had written to a Fox & Associates, it was some consulting firm, civil engineer or something like that, got stolen out of the mail and washed. So they basically take the name off of it, and they were selling it on the dark web.
Really?
And somebody, I forget the name now, some lady cashed a $12,000 check in her name, and our account information was for sale on the dark web. So
That's
I was
crazy.
literally like running in and out of this Real Estate Rumble, like on the phone with the bank, on the phone with Karen, because at that point, this was, what day of the week was it? It was like right after
Tuesday or Wednesday or something.
It was like right as we were processing payroll for that week, and all the contractor payments and everything was going out. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars going out, and everything froze. Everything had to be frozen because we didn't know what was fraud and what was not fraud.
I still think that like checks is a crazy form of payment now, and it's so necessary, right? Like we pay contractors with checks. However, with the routing and account number being on a check, it's almost like we're in 2025. Why can't somebody create like a QR code to where this is associated with your account, but the person you give this check to can't even see it in case they wanted to take your information and do something with it?
So, the one solution to that is what we've had to do is go on this thing called Positive Pay, which is a system that most banks, if not all banks, have. It's essentially they go through and we upload everything as we pay it out. So if I'm writing you a check, Nick Kalfas, I'm putting it into the bank app as a check to Nick Kalfas. So then if that check number gets cashed to Chase Kinser, there's like a flag. Mm-hmm. So essentially every single dollar that goes in and out of the account gets a flag, and we get a text and an email in the morning that there are exceptions or no exceptions on our account, and we have to go in and basically match them up. So if like the bank doesn't recognize something, they will deny it by 1 o'clock. So we have until 1 p.m. every day to accept or deny the payments. But essentially they told me if I had waited another like 24 hours to catch that, I would have been shit out of luck and the bank wouldn't have given me the money back. Wow. And I would have had to go through my insurance, like my liability insurance company, to get that money back. So Karen's in our books every single day except Monday because she's off on Mondays. But she checks now every single day, and every single dollar that's written in and out of the account has to get put into positive pay. It's a pain in the, you know what, but it's, so we were talking to somebody that had written us a big check for a commercial job, and he was like, I got taken for hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of 6 months by people washing checks, and I didn't know it because he didn't have a good bookkeeping person or system at the time. So yeah, it's something super important. If you're writing checks and you're listening, you need to be vigilant about looking at it. And like you do this with your credit cards too. You make sure nobody's steal your credit card information. You look at your, statements hopefully once a month and figure out if, people have been frauding your credit card. But with checks, it's if you're running a business, you just write, like we were just writing checks for years. We didn't check if they were, and then if somebody had a question or they were like, oh, I didn't get paid, we would look at the bank and then look back. Now it's like every single thing has to get checked.
I don't even own checks, so I can't even relate. I don't even know how to write a check, to be honest. I'd have to Google it or ChatGPT how to write a check because I really haven't wrote a check in probably 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously there's times where you don't need to and times where you need to. I try to Zelle things to some contractors, but Zelle caps you. So it's like, at least if it's a Zelle transaction, it's still ran through the bank account that the same checks would be into. So that's kind of like the same format. And then I'm like, you know what? Checks are probably the easiest thing because then I don't have to worry about capping out with Zelle. I can write as many checks, any amount that I want for the contractors. But like you mentioned, like if somebody gets you for a check and you don't pay attention to it, you don't log in. I log into my accounts every single day, credit cards and bank accounts. So like I'll always see like what's going on.
So this one though, the lady was kind of smart. She cashed it for the same exact amount.
Oh, so you wouldn't even notice
that it was written.
Like that amount was already supposed to be gone, but not to who it was supposed to be written out to.
So it was the exact number and exact check number and everything was good, but the name was different. So luckily, Karen has a way that when she goes in the account to see the check image, and that's how she saw the name was different. But
so the contractor reached out and said, hey, I haven't gotten paid, and you guys went in there and were like, well, I see the amount here, but then it was a different person's name. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wait, so why can't you guys just ACH? Like most, if they're already depositing the check into their bank account.
We do as many ACHs as we possibly can. Like we incentivize our contractors to get us their ACH information. Some people just won't do it. Some people are weird about other people having their account numbers and their routing numbers. When you pay enough people, like some people are just weird about that shit. So they're just like, no, only form of payment is a check, especially new contractors. They don't, and I don't know, what they're doing. We're sending 1099s if they could be cashing these checks and not paying taxes. Who knows? But some people just aren't cool with it, especially the older guys. Like tomorrow, I'm literally meeting a foundation guy for this big addition that we're doing in Severna Park. And I have to sign like a physical like paper with a carbon copy, like the old school, like rip off a sheet and there's a yellow copy.
As a contract or as a receipt?
As a contract for his foundation work, and I have to give him a check, and like he doesn't accept any electronic payments. And he's like in his 60s.
Yeah, some people are just old school. They're just in their own way, and
so that's just is what it is, kind of thing. But he's like the best foundation guy in Severna Park, so we're using him, and we're going to sign the physical paper. But I think that's like honestly something that I want to talk about too. And I know we've talked about this, like buying, like we have this like whole generation of people that are trying to get out of a lot of industries. They're our parents' generation, or maybe not Chase's parents yet, but our parents' generation are retiring, and they have all these companies. They own majority of the companies, and a lot of them are antiquated in a way where they don't have these systems in place. And I think it's a huge opportunity for us to come in and I was actually talking to Robin today about a custom contractor renovation guy that's trying to sell his business in Serena Park that has a book of business but has no systems, has no branding, has just been kind of, doing what he needs to do to make a living. There's a huge opportunity. I offered my HVAC guy $2 million a couple weeks ago to buy his company.
Both of these people, the first guy and the HVAC guy, are they both owner-operators?
Yep.
So I think that's the most difficult piece of like buying an established business is that owner is the face of their business. And that's not like what we want to see when we want to see systems in place. But that's the key to their business is that they're owner operators and they're going to care the most about that business. So that's the biggest thing. If you bring over a business like that, you got to figure out like, how can I replace this guy?
Well, first you got
to be 80% as good as the owner used to be.
You got to pay them to stay first. Like in the contract of sale, they need to stay for a certain amount of time. And then what a lot of companies do, especially bigger companies, they pay for that owner to sit on like a board. So they'll pay him X amount per year and not to even have a job, but just to be there as a consultant, essentially. I know a guy that I used to drive his boat for that he sat on the board of the company that he sold for like $60 million. And he was getting paid like close to $500,000 a year just to sit on the board, just to be there in case they had big issues that the private equity firm that bought it up like couldn't solve because he was the face of the company for so many years. So I offered, I think it was $2 million. I offered this guy, figuring out the EBITDA and all that stuff. I asked him what his revenue was, and I said I'd pay you $2 million for the company and then $120,000 a year to work for the company for the next few years while we got systems in place. He doesn't do any service agreements. He doesn't do any, like, he's very old school. And I'm like, dude, you're missing out on so much opportunity. And he's like, yeah, I'll call you when I'm ready, but basically, like, so
some of these guys too are like you were telling me, or like the HVAC industry, the electricians of the world. Like, a lot of those guys are like addicts or like recovering alcoholics or whatever, and like they work, and that's their new addiction, and to like get out of whatever they're doing. But I think you're right. I think, Nick, the opportunity is in the owner operated, because like Ryan said, you put them on a board or you hire them for a year and you replace them with systems. Now you just took that company that is only doing $1 million a year and you put in good systems, branding and marketing, and now you took them to 2 million, 3 million, and now you have an exit plan. Now you don't have a business that's only owner operated. And I think those are the big opportunities, not the ones that already have the systems in place.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? It's like that's the value add piece, is like being able to pull that owner operator out, put the systems in to bring the technology, and then you can sell it. As long as they have good employees. And that's something that we've talked about, me and Ryan, is like with an HVAC company, I'm like looking into this myself, and me and him have talked about it. And it's just like, okay, I could either start a company, go find employees, which is arguably probably the hardest part.
Definitely the hardest part.
And
especially in a trade where they need to have gone to a school to get to that point.
Right. And so like you could go out and try to find those guys, or, cherry pick them or whatever, and offer them incentives, or you could just go buy the company that already has the employees. They might not have the systems in place. Now you just come bring your business mindset into the company and grow it and scale it. So like that's something that I've been looking at as well. And I think it's going to be a lot of opportunities within the next couple of years.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are sitting on businesses that they don't know are valuable. And, I don't know what the exact multiple is, but I think it's like 12x what your net operating income is for an HVAC company. And a big part of that is because they can do service agreements, which is like you pay $600 a year. We're going to come out 2 to 3 times a year, change your filters, clean your coils, do whatever. And that recurring revenue is what drives up, the value. So, and a lot of these guys aren't doing that because he's just like, oh yeah, that would be such a headache for me to handle, the paperwork and all that stuff. Meanwhile, like I know for a fact, because we use it in AppFolio, like recurring maintenance calls we do that all the time. Preventative maintenance is an automatic thing that comes into our system. It gets assigned to one of our people and they go out and complete it and they put it in AppFolio and it's done. And it's all done with, I don't even want to say AI, just not even AI, it's just a computer software that we pay for. So I think there's some opportunity there in the next couple of years, because there's a whole generation that's gonna need to retire.
And that's what I've been looking into too, is bringing that AI technology now into those trade fields, and implementing that into your apps and building a system to where like the client facing system, like the client can say, hey, my thermostat says it's been at 75 for 3-4 hours, what's wrong? And then it troubleshoots the system right there without even having to have a tech on site. I think that would be super cool. Something I've been looking into as well, but I can't give away my whole business plan.
Every time we get calls, we always ask questions like, can you send a picture of your thermostat? Like, what is it doing? Is it blowing air? Is it blowing no air? Is it blowing hot air?
Have you checked your filters?
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is the filter change.
Yeah.
But running through a scenario like that on an app, and it eliminates, either a property management company or, a service tech coming out, because that's a lot of money, especially for a homeowner. If a homeowner has to call tech out, like they're paying an arm and a leg.
Yeah. $300+ just to have somebody show up typically. So yeah, no, that's huge thing for us with the property management company. We've had so many of these like calls that we just put it on a recurring thing that we contact the tenant. How do you handle that? Actually, I was talking to somebody the other day. How do you handle the filters and changing of the filters?
So that's a very difficult piece to like master, but I do have Lupe will reach out every 3 or 4 months to the tenants to see if they have changed their air filter. And they'll either say yes or no, or I don't know how. And then if they don't know how, we'll have someone go out and change it for them.
So we've changed this system like probably a dozen times in the last 8 or plus years that we've been in business. But now we have a system where they have to send us a picture of the filter being changed, and it's automated through AppFolio. So they get an email, and they keep getting emails until they respond with a picture, and then they get checked off the list essentially. And then if we do quarterly check-ins essentially, if we go out and the filter hasn't been changed and it's clear, then we charge them $75, and it's in their lease that they're agreeing to that. And when we do the move-in, we make sure the person moving them in, whether it's our leasing agent or Rabbit, our maintenance tech, shows them how to change the filter and takes a picture of where the filter is and what size it is and marks it in AppFolio. So now there's no way that the tenant can say, oh, I had no idea how to change the filter, so I didn't change it. So like we were like, nope, you definitely knew because we moved you in and the picture is in AppFolio. On this day, we showed you when, how to change the filter.
Yeah, either that or just creating like a little video, a little 20-second video. This is the furnace. This is where the filter is located. This is how you pull it out. This is how you put it in with the arrow facing the correct way. And that way you can at least have that and send it to them. And you can have that you can take one video and send it to multiple tenants as long as it's, similar furnace as the other properties.
Yeah, I like what you said. Do it on move-in day. Take the video, doing it at that one, so that it's specific to that house. Now you have one video that you can send all the.
And it saves on that on that property's portal, so it's there forever, and that person can have it. That has been one of the biggest headaches, especially when because people don't change it and they don't think about it until it gets 110 degrees outside, and their system fails, and they're like, it's 100 degrees in here. And there's one guy the other day that was blowing up our emergency line, and I was golfing at the Studio 8 thing. That shit was hot that day. It was real hot.
That was the hottest day of the year. That Monday was the hottest day so far of this year.
So I got a call, and he was blowing me up like, hey, nobody's been out. I said, did you change the filter? And he's like, yeah, changed the filter. We got there. Literally, the filter hadn't probably been changed in like 5-6 months at least. Like it was completely... And we charge them, and essentially, like in their lease, it says like if you were negligent to change the filter, the HVAC charge is going to you. And he fought us, and we were, we're just like, too bad, so sad, you got to pay, and we put it on their ledger, and that just is what it is. And I've had to have some like really tough conversations with tenants, but
what are some other things that you put on an addendum like that? So I have an addendum after the lease, and one of them is like, if we send a plumber out and we pull anything like wet wipes, toothbrushes, baby toys, we're going to charge you back for this. And like you said, if you pull a filter out and you neglected it, we're going to charge you X amount back for this. Is there anything else that's important that you add onto your like an addendum to your lease that you can think of?
So we do move-in inspection photos. So they're time-stamped photos that show what everything looks like on the day of move-in. So then at the end of the move-in, the tenants can't say, "Oh, that hole in the wall has been there for forever," or whatever. Plumbing and HVAC are the two biggest ones. HVAC being, I think, number one service call probably for like negligence, people not changing their filter. And then plumbing, like you said, like a kid will stuff something down the toilet or something like that. And we just have it in there in the lease. It's not even an addendum. It's just in the lease. It says, if there is a service call due to tenant negligence, the cost will be sent to you. And we even went as far as for the HVAC filter thing. If the HVAC filter causes the system to fail and need to be replaced, that will be on the tenant. And that could be upwards of $8,000 plus
costly.
Dollars. And we tell them. And like, I think the big thing, it's not only just having it in the lease, because most people, like we do with real estate contracts, we just click through.
Yeah.
It's telling the tenant, hey, just so you know, this is in there. And this is a very important thing, and it could cost you thousands of dollars if you don't do it correctly. And I think being kind of upfront with them and telling them, hey, look, you got to do this, or it could cost you $8,000. That's going to be a way better situation than them just signing the lease and not really knowing what they're signing. Half the people, my lease is 30 pages long. Nobody's reading that shit. So, but you go through it and you make them initial, sign, and then you tell them. And I mean, ultimately, you're always going to have people that, fight back and complain. But I will say that I don't think I've ever lost a case in the courtroom. I shouldn't say that because now I'm going to lose. But with this stuff. Another thing that we've been very strict with is normal wear and tear. I don't know if you have this issue, but people ask for their security deposit back. They've been living there for 1 year, and the house needs to be repainted. And people say, oh, it's paint. It's normal wear and tear. I'm like, how many times have you painted your house in the last, how many times have you painted your house since you lived there? Once. I've painted mine once in the last few years. Like, it should last more than 1 year for paint. Like, nicks on the wall or people, bumping into, smudging the wall, whatever. It should not be every year you need to paint. Carpet should not be every year. In the beginning, we were like, oh, carpet's normal wear and tear. We just got to change it out. Now we're charging the tenants for that. If it's not been 4+ years, we're charging them.
Yeah, no, that's certainly a good point. Carpet definitely should last. And I would think after a year, we have to freshen it up. But if there's nicks everywhere, like you mentioned, that's no good. And that's something that should fall as not under normal wear and tear. Yeah. Another thing we add is if we get any citations due to trash outside that's not in tight fitting lids or tall grass, we send that. We may go to the virtual trial that they usually have for the tenant, but if they've reduced the fine to whatever amount it is, we're tacking that right onto the rent ledger, they're responsible for this.
And how do you guys charge them when you're saying you're adding it to their rent ledger? Is that just next month's bill just hits?
Yeah, it just goes on there. Let's say your rent's $1,000 a month, and you got a citation for $200. It'll just show up as it could be in the middle of the month, and we can just tack it on to where now they have a $200 balance.
And that fee gets paid first. So if they go to pay their rent and they only pay $1,000, they're still behind, because that bill gets paid first. We do the same thing with water bills. If they don't pay their water bill on time before we do the audit of the water bills, we pay it ourselves and then tack it onto their bill. But that will always get paid first. So on our ledger, it'll say, okay, it's $1,000 rent, $200 for the water bill or whatever. They paid $1,000 and it was really $1,200. They technically owe $200 in rent, not for a water bill, so we can evict them for that $200 delta.
Okay. And then another thing, with pest control. So I'll put it as an addendum, and this is part of the addendum at the end of the lease. I'll say, we'll provide at the owner's cost 2 pest control visits per year upon request. Anything after that, it's on them. How do you handle pest control services?
100% is on the tenant, and we basically say it's on you unless when the company comes out, they find things that are like holes in the foundation that the rats are coming through.
Allow them to come through and stuff like that.
If it's on us, then we'll fix it. Like we had one where there was holes in the bottom of the brick foundation, and there were rats and mice getting in. So we went in there and cemented it all up and fixed it. But 100% of pest control is on the tenant.
So then, knowing that, I mean, how else would a rodent get inside if there weren't any exterior holes? I guess they can come through like a neighbor's party wall.
Mice they get through little tiny holes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rats are a different story, but mice can get in through like, I don't know the exact stats, so don't fact check me and blow me up on the comments. But I think a mice, like a one mice can get through something like almost as small as like a quarter. I've heard.
Probably smaller, maybe like a dime. No, they're. I mean, it depends on how small the mouse is, but
Yeah.
they can get through.
Yeah.
Very small cracks.
So yeah, the party wall. Somebody leaves a door open. Like my guys left at one of my remodels in Shipley. Is a very high end house. We're doing a kitchen. My guys left the garage door open, and a little lizard, ran inside. So now these people have been living with the lizard for the last week.
Yeah.
Lord.
So yeah.
One thing that I always charged back was bed bugs.
Oh,
I always
yeah,
kind of gave
100%.
slack on like mice or rats, especially in Baltimore City, just a high volume of those, rodents. But like if you get bed bugs, like that's probably like the most expensive pest control visits, like $1,000.
Yep.
I've always put that on the tenant because
What about
it's not fair.
roaches?
Roaches, yeah, that can be included in my.
That's got to be on the tenants.
2 per year. Like if they request it, we'll do it. But
So not to get too in the weeds with pest control specifically, but like German roaches will not leave if you don't go every week for like 2 months because they breed so rapidly. I learned this the hard way. So if you just send the guy once and then the next week they don't go back to reset all the traps, the bait and the pesticides, whatever it is, they'll repopulate essentially faster than like what your pesticides are doing. So that's why I've just said all things are on the tenants. And when you move in, the place is cleaned by a professional cleaner. You see that it's cleaned. If you have crumbs on the ground, you're subject to getting mice. I mean, that's just kind of what it is. We've been very strict about that. And it's been a battle with some people, but ultimately we've gotten really like thick skin of just like, this is in your lease. I'm sorry. Like I'm just the middleman. I'm the property manager. My tenants don't even know that I own the place. If most of them have no way of like getting in contact with me unless they call the emergency line. And when they do call the emergency line, I answer as if I'm just an employee of the company. I'm like literally the other day I was telling a girl that she was yelling at me, and I was like, I'll run it up the ladder kind of thing. Like I'll tell the people that need to be told, and it just kind of is what it is. But I don't.
No, I mean, it takes the weight off of us sometimes. Like we don't want to be like on the other end of the phone call, like having to make that decision right then and there. Like you want to be like, I have to go consult with our management company or whoever.
Yep.
And then we'll get back to you. I mean, it's obviously if it's something very important in nature, we'll get it done as soon as possible. But I don't want to be on the other end of the call, like making that decision right there on the spot.
No, I agree. I wanted to talk about one thing, and I saw it on a clip of a podcast. It's called the 2-week test, and I'm literally about to live this in my real life. Like being able to just go on vacation for 2 weeks, and I'm not actually going to live it because I'm not going to fully disconnect, but I'm leaving for the Philippines for 2 weeks, and I'll be on a 12-hour different time schedule. So my people here have to run the company. I have Jocelyn, who's director of property management. She's out on maternity leave. I have Chauncey, that is a project manager that's out on vacation right now, and he gets back before I leave. And Franklin, our main maintenance tech, is on vacation for a week. So I have like 3 of my main people out. At the end of next week, I leave for basically the rest of the month because I come back only for 1 day, and then we leave for our next Ironman race. So I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, and I've created like a standard operating procedure guide using ChatGPT and all my like current stuff that I'm doing, and every project has like a different description of what's going on and whatever. And I'm like, hey guys, like I'm going to pay some people double time to take my phone number and all that stuff. When I go to the Philippines, I'm also bringing Carl to the island to like vacation with me for a week. So I'm not going to have my main like assistant as well. How do you think things would go? And I can't even imagine what kind of fucking issues I'm going to have in the next couple weeks. How do you think things would go for you if you were to just leave the country and disconnect for 2 weeks?
Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
not that great, and primarily because me and Lupe are like a team, and if I left, then I'd probably be going with her. And when we're both together, it's kind of like she based all her work off of like what I'm doing and like what we're doing as a family as well. So it's kind of, that makes it even harder for me because it's like I still need her to like assist with things, and I want to be like on vacation, but then we're both on vacation, and it becomes like a grayish
It's
area.
a primary example of owner operated.
Yeah, yeah, it's true, and I'm not like, you know, necessarily proud of it, but there's no other way to start. And right now, this is like the ultimate test that I'm about to go through, and I'm gonna leave, and I'm gonna leave people responsible, and I'm gonna hold them accountable, and I'm gonna check in and schedule. Like, I'm gonna use all my technology. I'm gonna schedule text messages. I'm gonna do emails at night, and you know, at night this time, and it'll be daytime there or whatever.
That's gonna be hard. That's gonna be very hard with the 12-hour difference.
It's a 12. Yeah, exactly. So there's going to be problems that arise that people here are going to have to solve.
I remember when we were in California, and it was late. It was like, I don't remember time. Maybe it was 3 a.m., 4 a.m., but it was like 7 a.m. back home. And you're like answering phone calls, and we're just getting ready to go to bed, like trying to get everyone started for the day.
Yeah.
Jeez,
So, I mean, 12 hours is like a huge swing. Like, that's like the complete opposite.
Yeah, exactly. 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Basically, I'm going to have like 1 hour of awake time. Because if I go to bed at 9, everybody usually starts around 8. I'm going to have 1 hour from 8 to 9 where like I'm going to be awake while my employees start their job.
And your other CEO is going to be with you. So
Yeah.
your assistant, your main.
For the first week, Carl is with me, which was going to be really tough. Luckily, Adam will be here. He's going to have my phone number. I'm still going to be answering things. I'm just going to be late. And if, you know, things catch on fire, people are going to have to put it out and figure it out.
I hit you up on WhatsApp. How am I going to?
Yeah, you're going to have to hit me up on WhatsApp. Yeah, I'm not going to have a phone for that time. So we leave the 12th, we get back the 23rd. This is going to be another interesting thing, and not that our listeners need to hear about my circadian rhythm, but I'm going to be sleeping on the opposite schedule. I come back here the 23rd. We're here the 24th. Chase and I leave the 25th for an Ironman race. So I'm going to be completely flip-flopped on sleep schedule, and then I'm going to have to drive 9 hours to Maine and do a race.
It's probably my only chance to beat him in a half Ironman.
If you don't beat me after this shit,
You put in some work.
How far before the race do you stop training? Is it like a week
really,
before?
you just do
so
a
you're gonna be
taper?
training when you're away too.
I'm going to be training out there, yeah, for sure. You can't stop.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it'll be slightly less. Luckily, we're going to do some ocean swims. Carl is like a really good swimmer as well, so he's going to swim with me. Our hotel has, you know, stationary bikes and stuff, and I'll be able to run outside, bring in my running shoes. But no, you can't really stop, especially like mid-season like this, because you lose it so fast. And after a week of not training, like even the week of the race, you're still doing, like they call them primers, like up until the day before the race. You're still doing like what some people would call an actual workout. We're doing as just like essentially to keep our bodies warm,
Like warm, yep.
ready. So that's been that journey's been fun, to say the least. We got this past weekend. We did what was it, Saturday? We did a 4.5 hour bike into a run, like a 30-40 minute run after that, and then Sunday we did a 2.5 hour run, and then I did another half-hour run in the afternoon, so 3 hours of running on Sunday. So
Nice.
Your weekends are just gone. I mean, it's kind of is what it is. Like I was talking to my wife, I was like, well, I hope you didn't have anything planned for the summer because we're not doing shit.
Well, you just gotta cut that time down. Just start running faster and be like, I'll be home in 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, no.
But it's actually more about the time
Yeah.
than it is about like the distance, because you're working on the volume,
like being able to run longer,
hold it
like
for longer
time.
Dude, it's so mental. Everybody thinks it's so physical. It's so mental, dude. We got off the bike and we were supposed to run 50 minutes, and we did like 30 minutes or something, and I just like, it wasn't that I physically couldn't do more. It was just I'd been working out for fucking 6 hours and I was done. I was just done, you know? Like I was tapped out.
That's going to be the most difficult thing for the full Ironman, which is going to be like 10 to 12 hours of just like telling yourself this is this is not what I want to be doing at this time. You know, at the end of like a half Ironman, it was like you're battling a little bit, but the adrenaline like gets you through it, and like 5.5 hours or so is not that much time. But doubling that, even this weekend, like on that run, we ran from here to Annapolis, and I started overheating. Like I ran out of liquids. I had to stop at Naval Bagels and like fill up my hat with ice to cool myself down. And you're just battling. Like at one point I was just running by myself, just talking to myself. Like my wife is ahead of me with Sean. It was right when we crossed over like Ritchie Highway, and I crossed back. Yeah. And I was just talking to myself. I was like, this is just what you're doing right now. And again, like Chase said, like it's not the physical part. Like you feel okay after you're doing, you know, you're in the shape that we're in mid-season right now. It's like, it's not the physical part at all. It's just like, fuck, I'd much rather be home right now, sitting down, than running.
You guys are listening to music too, like not during like the actual things, but like when you guys go for runs around here.
Typically, I have a little DeWalt speaker that I clip on to me.
Oh, so no, like you don't have anything in your ears, you just have it clipped.
Yeah, because then we could talk to each other.
Gotcha.
A lot of us like to, we talk. Some people don't talk while they run and they put headphones in. I think that's even harder.
I think headphones are harder because in my head I'm thinking like this song is going to be over in 3 or 4 minutes, and I only ran this much because this song just ended.
Yeah, no, I literally yelled at, I didn't yell at Sean. I was just like, Sean, tell me a story. Like, we're going to bed. and like, it just like keeps your mind off of what you're doing.
I guess after running for so long, like you have the ability to talk. Like I would run a 5K and my mouth would be so dry that I couldn't even open my mouth. Yeah,
that just comes to it. Like we're running for our long runs, our long bikes. We're in like zone 2 heart rates. It's like very, what some people would call hard, for us is like not hard anymore. I guess how to say that without sounding arrogant, but like our heart rate is low enough where we can talk, and that's like one of the ways, besides having heart rate monitors and stuff, to measure what zone you're in is, can you talk? If you can have a conversation, you're in zone 2. And if you can't have a conversation semi decently without huffing and puffing, then you're probably in zone 3 or higher. So that is one of those like tricks to training endurance, ultra endurance stuff. It's like you have to do it with volume in mind, not with speed. And that's really hard to do as like a competitor and an athlete. Like you just like want to go fast, but it's really about going slow and longer and holding it for a longer period of time. So it's been tough. We have this main race in end of July, and then we have 1 month, essentially, or 1.5 months before our full Ironman in Maryland. And I definitely think we're gonna have some mental battles to get through still.
Your boy just bought a new bike. I'm coming for you, buddy. I am coming.
I cooked his ass the other day, though.
He did.
On the bike?
Oh yeah. Him and Ben.
The last 20 minutes.
We were gonna do 100 miles, and we got all the way down to Chesapeake Beach. You know, like North Beach, Harrington Harbor. It's like south. I don't even think it's in Anne Arundel County anymore. Maybe same areas or something. But we rode. It was 40 miles, and we got down there and we were like refilling our water bottles and stuff, and I typed in the address to get home, and I was like, we'll probably only get like 77 to 80 miles or whatever. And Ben's like, no, we're doing 100. Like, I'm not stopping until we do 100. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do 80. I'm going to stop when I get home so we can run. He's like, no, I'm going to do 100. And probably like 10 miles later, Chase and I look back.
No Ben.
We're like, where did Ben go? And he finally caught up to us, and he just looked defeated. He's like, I'm cooked, man. Like he basically said, he's like, I'm fucking shot. And then he still at that point, I think, was alluding to wanting to do 100. Yeah. But we were like,
what's the average miles per hour for like 60, 70, 80 mile bike ride?
That ride I averaged 18.5.
And then if you're doing like, what's a shorter race, like a triathlon, what are you doing in that type of race? Like how many miles per hour?
For the 56 that we did in Chattanooga, the 56 miles, we did 21.5 miles an hour.
And do you keep your bike in one, like obviously if you're going up hills, you got to do different, but if you're just going flat, do you keep your bike in one gear?
Typically, if you're flat, you're putting out like a certain amount of power, and you're keeping it in one gear. Unless you make a turn, you slow down. You're gonna change the gears. My bike and Chase's new bike have electronic shifting, so you just hold a button and it changes them, and the front gears get changed automatically. But there's a lot of actually like skill to shifting properly, especially when you're doing like a climby course, like rolling hills or climbing, knowing what gear to get into before you get to that hill. So then you're not stuck in the wrong gear and you keep the momentum going. And that's one of the things that will keep your average speed up. Like if you come into a hill and you're in the too hard of a gear, you're instantly going to go from, let's just say you're going downhill into another hill. You could be going 40 miles an hour. And that next hill could be almost like nothing. Because if you get into the right gear, you have so much momentum and power. If you're in the easy gear that you need to be in, you could just push your way up there with just a couple pedal strokes. If you get caught in the wrong gear, you just stop.
So if you're in higher gears, it'll help you go faster. But what about a stationary bike? If you're in a higher gear, does it calculate distance at a faster rate than it would if you're in a lower gear on a stationary bike?
Yeah. Yep. It does like power. The stationary bikes aren't exactly like super accurate. That's why we have like trainers that we hook our actual bikes to that are like smart trainers. But the speed on the bike, our goals for the race is between 21 and 22 miles an hour is what an age grouper is typically like a good solid top of age group person's going to do. The pros are like 27 to 29 miles an hour.
And are they just able to pedal faster, or like
Just
are they
power.
able to go far? Like
they're just able to put out more power per, so it's like watts per kig or watts per pound or whatever. They figured out watts per kilogram. So like essentially how many watts you can put out versus how much you weigh.
So could you guys do a 10-mile bike race at 27 miles an hour the whole time?
No.
Or is it just so you have to work your legs consistently just to get to that point where you're going 27 miles
Yeah, these
per
are
hour?
like professional athletes that we're talking about. Like they're on a whole nother level of like
these guys train for 7-8 hours a day.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And they're like Sam Long. I think he just put out a video. He's eating 6,000 calories a day.
Damn.
Yeah, and they have professional strength coaches and all sorts of stuff. I mean, if in order to be that, you need to dedicate your entire life to it. It's not something that there's such a difference between like being like Chase and I. We now like are good competitors in like the Olympic distance races where we're coming in like top of our age group. Where at the Ironman races, like we're still like top mid to top. I think I was like top 25% in that.
Yeah, I'm still like 105.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Out of like,
And then the pros are like they're just so fast, dude. Like they're putting out so much power. Like we look at their times, we're like, thank God we're not competing against them.
Yeah. But those guys, they have sponsorships that allow them to just that's what they do for a living.
That's what they do for a living. Exactly. The bike that they wear, the jerseys that they wear, they're getting paid to wear them. They're getting paid to make the content. And that's ultimately, first you have to be an elite specimen. That's like step one. And then step two is you got to get the training and the proper, you have to have the mindset, first of all. These ultra endurance guys, like Chase said, they're 7-8 hours a day of either swimming, biking, running, or a mixture of both, strength training. And they're traveling from state to state or country to country every single week during the season. Like right now, we're like mid-season. Sam Long won Chattanooga, raced in St. George a week before that, Utah, and then came 2 weeks later, or raced the next weekend. And I think he had like 5 races in 6 weeks, I think he said on that video. So he had 5 70.3 Ironman races in 6 weeks. And he came and he won at Eagleman too, right? Yeah. Then he came and won
3 hours and 46 minutes.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
I can't even walk for 3 weeks after a half Ironman, and we didn't swim.
Yeah, we've been getting after it, Nick. We're still waiting. You're still fully invited to train with us and join us in one of these races.
At the beginning of June, Daniel Hood posted on his Instagram, I don't know if you guys saw it, he said, I'm going to run 50 miles in June, or I'm going to donate $1,000. A couple other people said they're going to do it, and I said same. So I was like held on the hook. So last month I did run. I never ran this much in my adult life, and I ran 57 miles, and I thought it was pretty cool. It's like in my head, I'm like, I'm only going to run 1 mile at a time because I can't run longer than 1 mile or I have to stop. My mouth gets so dry and I'm like dehydrated. And then Brian was like, well, you're running too fast. And I said, no. He said, yeah, look at your time. I said, that's in KM. So he thought I was running like super fast. I'm like running at an average like 10 mile an hour pace or
10 minute.
Yeah, 10 minute mile. And or 10.5 or 10 and a half rather. And I'm like, no, that's what I'm running. He's like, well, just go ahead and try. And I just kept like going up and up a little bit. And then eventually after like a mile and a half, I kind of just broke into like another thing to where I can just, run up for a little bit longer. So the most that I ran in this past month at one time was 60 minutes, and I ran 5.5 miles, and I've never ran 60 minutes or 5.5 miles at one time in my whole life.
Nice.
So I thought that was pretty cool that I'm starting to.
You're almost at an Ironman race.
I saw everybody like reposting his story and stuff, and I was curious to see, since it is July 1, how many people didn't.
I think everybody besides me and Nico were the only two. I think that's his name.
You and Nico that were the only two that completed it? Mm-hmm. Seriously?
Wow.
Jesus. There was a lot of people, too. There was probably like 7 or 8.
Yeah,
I should have joined.
Yep.
It's like 8,000. Mm-hmm. Dang. That's crazy.
I'm trying to see how many I've run. This year, I have this year in our little challenge thing.
I saw Daniel post something when Nico started, because he was running like 2 or 3 miles a day, and he was like, we should have upped it on you, like made it more than
50. Yeah.
I did 391 miles this year so far. So I don't know how many that breaks down to per month. But we're also biking and swimming. Mm-hmm. So
is that everything included? Biking and swimming and running? Or just running? Yeah.
391.
That's a lot.
So that's 65 miles a month, which is pretty good.
You said all the time?
No, just this year. Chase, I have your stats here. You ran 246.6 miles.
What app is that? Does that app automatically calculate it? Or is that...
Oh, Strava. Okay.
Strava. Yeah. We're in a challenge with a bunch of people.
I'm really bad at recording my miles, though, so...
Yeah, his is probably a little bit off, because he always forgets his watch. But I don't. My wife and I right now have been neck and neck. I'm at 391.2. She's at 390.8.
Is it a Apple Watch only, or
I have a Garmin. You could do Apple or whatever. Strava is like it's like a social media platform for runners and swimmers and bikers.
So any watch can link to that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But this is cool. Like it's everybody. The goal is 500, which we'll obviously all hit.
Like for at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But like you have a leaderboard. Perry used to be in the lead, and then he had to go to work too much, so he fell off. And now, like my wife, I see, and you'll get a notification when somebody passes you. And right now, I'm like number 1, and she's like only 0.3 miles behind me. Mm-hmm. So yesterday and today, she passed me, and then I got on the treadmill and I ran 2 miles, exactly what I needed to get 0.3 ahead of her. So just like pushing yourself like mentally, and I was just like on the treadmill. I was like, I just need to get.
How does your watch track on the treadmill?
It has a treadmill setting.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
So you put it on, you run for a little bit on the treadmill, and then you enter in how many you ran, and then it like learns your cadence and stuff. Gotcha. So yeah, it has a treadmill version. Sometimes it gives me like an extra 0.1 per like 2 miles or 3 miles, but it's pretty accurate. It's pretty damn accurate. But yeah, so that's been super fun. I've dragged Chase fully in the mud. He's signed up for Maryland. He's signed up. Well, we didn't sign up, but we're signing up for Lake Placid next year.
We're not signing up for Lake Placid.
You just bought a $10,000 bike.
Yes, and I will use it at half Ironmans and Olympics. Very well.
Wait, why not next year? Are you doing the one in September, the Maryland one?
Yeah.
So why not the one next year?
He is. He just doesn't know yet.
Why do we need 2? One, I didn't even want to do 1, first of all. One, I
think 1 would be a very huge accomplishment.
$3 million
and then kind of just like do halves and then the triathlons.
Yeah, 1's enough. 1, I can say I'm an Ironman. I get $3 million worth of listings, and I'm happy. I'm a happy boy. I'll be done being mentally ill. I will have a summer again, like I don't need to do 2.
Brian's like, no, this shit's never ending.
It's never going to end.
No, I don't.
We were talking the other day in the pool. I was like, I need to find my limit. I need to find my wall. Like I need to be able to break myself mentally. And that's my goal, is to find that. And I think we will in the next couple months.
Yeah, I think September we're going to find it.
Yeah.
Can we wait until September?
Why don't you do that by just like running a mile faster each time? Like, what's
because
the fastest?
1 mile is not going to do it. Like we could do speed work all day long. It's going to be the 10th hour of the race where I'm going to be like, I really don't want to be doing this right now. And I just biked, at that point we had swam 2.4 miles through jellyfish infested waters and then biked 112 miles. And then we're running a marathon. By halfway through that marathon, I'm going to be ready. I think.
There's going to be a bridge, and I'm going to be ready to jump off of it.
Luckily, this is a very flat race. There's not many bridges that we have to cross, so there won't be many opportunities for suicide during the race, but I will be contemplating it, I think, probably by I would imagine mile 10, usually.
On the run?
On the run, yeah. Mile 10 is usually where, like on the half marathon, is usually where I like mentally I'm like, okay, like I feel okay, but I just don't really want to be doing this anymore. I think that's probably where I'll hit my wall, but I'm going to find that ledge. And
How many, for a half marathon, it's 13 miles at the end?
13.1, yeah. Yep.
But then for the full, it's going to be 26.
Yep. 26.2 miles after biking 112 and swimming 2.4. The swimming is mentally the most draining, I think, because you're literally like, you can't talk to anybody. You're just like by yourself in the middle of the water, like
a big body of water with a bunch of
and
fish and
2.4
creatures.
miles is pretty far.
Yeah, it's very far.
Yeah, it's really
it's going to take over an hour. It's going to be like an hour and 10, hour and 20 minutes probably.
That's like longer than your drive home. I'm going to be swimming longer than your drive home.
Wait, well, obviously that's only 2.4 miles, but swimming 2.4 miles is a very long time in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
You mean like my drive home, the time?
The length of time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's a long time. After 40 minutes in the water, like I'm ready to be done. Like, and it's not physical.
I'm gonna think about that on my way home. Like, damn, they gotta swim
This
whole
whole
time.
time.
They're still swimming. I'm gonna be home. We're like looking out in the water. Like, is that them out there swimming?
And some people, like when we first started, I didn't even know how people held a freestyle stroke, like a regular like freestyle stroke for even a mile. And now we're doing it like without any issues. But that was one of the hardest things.
I wouldn't say without any issues.
Well,
speak for yourself.
I freestyle the entire race now instead of like I used to. Probably the first year of racing, I would even like in a sprint or Olympic distance, I would start breaststroking so you can get like a breath of true breath in every stroke. And now I'm just like, you just figure it out and kind of like.
The last race I had to get into the breaststroke for a second because my goggles, that's been the worst part too, is like your goggles fog up or your goggles leak water and now you got salt water in your eye and it's burning.
What's really annoying is when you have a friend, my little friend Benji, he's the most inconsistent racer of them all, but he was like backstroking like for a good portion of it where I freestyled the entire thing and he still beat me. So he would he freaks out sometimes, started backstroking, and then got back into freestyle and somehow still beat me.
Yeah, at the beginning of the rock hole race.
Yeah.
We jumped in the water, me and Ryan first, and then I'm like on Ryan's toes for a little bit. We get around the first buoy. I look over to my right, and Benji's just sitting there on his back, floating like an otter. And I'm like, yo, are you good? He's like, yeah, I'm good. Just had to take a break. I was like, okay. And then him, Ryan, all of them beat me out of the water, and I made the wrong turn. But I was just like, dude, this guy's a freak.
Yeah. Ben is one of the most fun people to race with because you literally never know what you're going to get. Like, he will be balls to the walls, and then he'll just fall apart, or he'll do great, like at Eagle Man. The guy he forgot socks. So he was running. His feet were bleeding through his shoes. Like, he has blood stains on his shoes. So he biked the whole bike without socks and then just ran a bunch of the half marathon with no socks. Started bleeding so bad that he had to stop at a medical tent. Now, at this point, Chase thought that he had cramped. Chase was on the sideline with my wife, and my wife had run with me for a second to be like, tell me where I was at, because everybody has trackers on them. Like Chase and them were tracking all of the three of us that were racing, and Chase had thought that Ben had cramped, and Ben was just stopped at a medical aid station getting his feet wrapped up, and he had like, I texted them. I actually used my phone during the bike. I was like, how many miles? I knew Ben was ahead of me. I said, how many miles is Ben ahead? And somebody I texted the group chat, and somebody texted me back. He's like 3 or 4 miles ahead or something like that. And I was like, all right. And I started just hammering to catch him. And then when we got on the run, Paige ran next to me, and she's like, Ben's cramping. You know, you had a 12-minute gap. Now you're like 3 minutes back. Just keep your pace. Like, don't push yourself. Just stay this pace. I was doing like 8-minute, 30-second miles. I was very consistent. I was like between 8 and 8:30s the whole time, and I felt good. And I had more in the tank, and I should have like turned it up a little bit, but he ended up beating me by like a minute and a half.
Yeah, Ryan pulled back. I mean, literally, I think he had like 6-7 minutes on you, and you pulled back within like, at one point we were like, oh shit, Ryan's in the lead now. And he had like a minute on him. Ben had, I guess that's another time Ben had stopped. And then Ben just pulled away right there at the end. It was crazy. It was an intense race. It came down to
that
like
seems pretty crazy, like a minute and a half apart.
Yeah. And they have, the tracker has like an estimated time to finish, and an estimated, like, it has your speed, it has your estimated time to finish, and you can track multiple people. So the people on the sidelines are like watching us like go around the course, and like, this course was cool because it's an out and back twice, so you pass the people. So like Ben, I would see Ben at one point, and then on the next lap, I didn't see him there. So I knew he either gotten further or he was closer. And at that point, they had already told me that I had put some minutes on him, that I was like getting closer. So at that point, I was like mentally, like, I got to catch this guy. And I didn't end up catching him, and he beat me fair and square. But that was definitely a fun one it's cool to spectate too. Like,
it is,
like to just be there. Like after the race, when I finished and I was waiting for Matt to come across the finish line, like I got on my app and I was watching for Matt to come and like see how fast he was going. And there's thousands of people there. The energy is great. You should come to one of these races.
Where's the one in July?
In Maryland. In
Maine. July is Maine.
Yeah, September. You should come to Maryland, right on the Eastern Shore. You could take your boat down there. It's a fun day.
Yeah, I'll have a lot of family there. You'll have family there. We'll have tents and stuff. They're gonna cook out.
What day?
September 20th.
20th. Okay.
Yeah.
But it is a super cool event. I was glad I wasn't racing that day. It was super choppy in the water, but it was cool just to like watch and like be a part of the atmosphere and hang out and kind of chill for once, see the other side of it.
My parents came, and my mom still had kept calling triathlon. She called everything a marathon. Whether I did a 5K, triathlon, half marathon, doesn't matter. She called everything a marathon. She's like, are you doing another marathon race this week or whatever? Now she's like into it. So she's coming to Maine to watch us, and she was cheering me on from the sideline, and I like went across the street and gave them all a high five as I went by, and like just that motivation, the family being there and everything is super cool. Now my mom's super into it, and she's coming to Maine, she's coming to Maryland. Chase's family's coming. Like we're gonna have tents set up, and they're gonna cook out. We're probably gonna end up stopping and eating with them for a couple minutes.
I hope so.
And yeah, just mid race, we got to eat something. We'll probably try to stop and do that. So yeah, it's cool. It's a cool culture. It's a cool thing, and I'm fully into.
Wait, so you said mid race you have to stop and eat? Is it not like a bar that you would have, like a?
Yeah. I'm not saying we're gonna stop and eat burgers and hot dogs, but like we're gonna have to at some point.
Do you carry like a backpack or anything? No, so like you would have to just grab something really quick and.
Our tri-suits have like some pockets in them, and then our new bike has a fuel station. So my bike has a built-in water container and a storage container for food. But essentially there's also on the run an aid station every mile that will have like bananas, oranges, gels, bars, like all sorts of different stuff to eat and drink. So you could stop at those aid stations. The pros, they don't even stop. They just throw things in their face as they're running through the aid stations. At Eagle Band, I didn't stop at any of them. I just ran through and you just grab stuff from them. But those races are pretty good, pretty well supported.
The full will have the ability to stop halfway through the bike too.
Yeah, there's a drop site for you can drop stuff halfway through the bike. So if you wanted to put in like a sandwich, or some people eat peanut butter jellies or stuff like that, you could put that in your drop bag for the mid race stop. Yeah, we're gonna see how we feel, but
how do you dry your feet when you get out of the water to put your socks and shoes on? Do you have is there a towel right by your bike?
Yeah, you have a little transition area. It's part of the whole strategy is honestly like transitioning fast, getting out of the water, getting your wetsuit off, getting into the next thing, whether it's your bike shoes or whether it's your running shoes, and remembering your socks and remembering to put everything in an order. You have to have your belt, your running belt, your number on it, all that kind of stuff, your running hat, whatever you need. It's all part of that's all part of the race. Like transitioning is one of the ways that I've lost the last couple of races. Like I sat down at the one and I fell over and probably wasted like 20 seconds, like sitting and falling.
Yeah.
So, and I think that Rock Hall race, I was 4th place and I would have been podium. And the one person that was ahead of me in 3rd, the only thing that was much faster than me was his swim was a little bit faster, but his transitions were like almost double as fast as mine. Cause I like sat down and like, fucked around too much, where you just have to be like in and out. If you watch some of these videos, if you get in that algorithm, you see some of these videos of the pros doing it. It's wild.
I showed Ryan last Sunday how to transition pretty well.
Yeah, from a man to a woman. Yeah, we did actually. We did a coach. We did a coaching session last weekend, and I was cooking them on the bike. And we were doing a back and forth bike to run. And naturally I should be beating them on this bike that I have. Chase got into the transition and just blew me away. Like I came in first and I was still putting on my first shoe and he was already in both of his shoes and running away. So it just like goes to show you how much transition can make or break.
Especially in the shorter distances too.
Yeah. Sprint distance, Olympic distance, you got 30 seconds to a minute. And typically like the first transition, you're coming out of the water and you have to run barefoot for a little while. So like sometimes it's up to half a mile where you're running from the water to transition and you're just running barefoot, and that's all part of your transition time. So you got to get that part down and then dry off and whatever else. Typically I don't even really dry off. I just put the shit on and keep it moving. But anything else to add before I go eat sushi?
Yes, real quick. I wanted to introduce a new segment to the podcast called Build a Business.
Oh.
It's kind of like Build a Bear.
Is this a thing that you just didn't think to tell us about? We're going to start a new segment. I'm not even prepared.
Yeah, exactly. This is the whole point.
Okay.
So
let's hear it.
I just want to like go through real quick. One idea, like a business idea that you're not going to act on. It doesn't have to be crazy, but like just an idea about business or a business that someone could start and implement, or, just some type of concept of a business, something.
So I always thought, maybe not always, but like as we get older, like what kind of business can I start to where it takes the least amount of my effort over time? Like maybe it can take a lot of effort like to jumpstart it and get it rolling, but like a business where I can jumpstart, get it rolling, be all in, and then kind of just like, let it go and coast on its own. And the two businesses that always come to my head are car washes and laundromats.
Car wash. They're opening one right down here on Ritchie, actually.
Car washes are a good one. A lot of private equity companies are bringing that. But as far as starting one, those kind of businesses that you're talking about take a lot of capital. So what I would do if I was like restarting right now, I think going to business owners and teaching them or getting some sort of AI figured out for a specific business and helping businesses implement that into their business.
Yeah, there is a lot of money in teaching people how to become better businesses or teaching people about finances and money. Like I've seen a lot of those coaches pop up.
I think there's so much opportunity with AI right now that most people like we said in the beginning of the podcast that are in their 60s, they don't want to learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody comes up and like, hey, can I get 10 minutes of your time? Let me show you what ChatGPT can do for just me as an estimator. Like the other day I typed in, I just posted in ChatGPT a drawing of a roof truss that we're building an addition on. And I just asked it, how many squares of roofing shingles do I need? And it just spit me out exactly how much I needed. That stuff is game changing for businesses. And if you could be the one to sit down in front of somebody and show them how it works, like if I could sit there and show a contractor that's manually estimating things how to use Polycam and upload that Polycam into ChatGPT and estimate that job for them, I could change somebody's life and charge them for it.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. I know I have a ton of people asking me like how to use ChatGPT or how to use AI and automations. I think that's a huge one. It's just showing them how to use the new technology and how you're doing it too. I think you do that with your coaching clients.
Yeah, I do.
See, that wasn't so hard, right?
Built a business.
But no, mine was I've been noticing a big trend in like.
Let me guess. It's quick transitions.
No, but I should teach you on how to do that, so that way.
No, I'm happy as a man.
You'll be faster as it. Anyways, no, that the health and like recovery industry. I think the recovery industry because so many people are starting to get into running, that there's a bigger boom in like people recovering from their long runs or the run clubs and those type of things. We were talking off podcast about a couple of people that I've seen start like recovery resorts, if you will. So like Airbnbs that have like saunas, hot tubs, cold plunges. I don't really know, like we just bought cold plunges and I don't really know of anywhere around here besides, actually somebody did hit me up on Instagram, a Vibe agent that owns like a what are they called, cryotherapy spa. But I don't know too many of those like Airbnbs where you can just go and connect around here with nature and kind of recover. So I thought that was a pretty cool idea. Yeah,
I think the whole fitness industry I think is a great place to be right now, especially because I think a lot of people are getting into like, I've heard of like people, they're doing like fitness like music festivals now, where like when I went to music festivals 10 years ago, is people were just doing drugs and drinking and getting fucked up the whole time. Now there's music festivals where people are going and like exercising and doing like, you know,
I just saw one
retreats
in Austin, Texas. It's called Coffee and Chill, and you go there. It's a daytime rave. You go there. There's no alcohol. You get unlimited coffee, matcha, non-alcoholic drinks. You can go and cold plunge. It's like all these people dancing and cold plunging, and it's like that's a cool atmosphere. And I think our age group, your age group, millennials, and then Gen Z have started to notice like, hey, we should be on this kind of trajectory, and I think that's kind of what's taken over.
I just ultimately feel so much better all the time than I used to, and I like compare it to how I always used to have stomach aches. I always used to like feel like shit because I wasn't treating my body well. Now that I just feel good every day. It's like a weird thing, but I think a lot of it has to do with not drinking alcohol and having like there's no toxins. I think that's a way of the future, and I think recovery. I mean, how many people have fucking cold plunges? Nobody knew what a fucking cold plunge was 10 years ago. I never heard of cold plunges until probably the last few years. And now Chase and I both have one at our house, and I do it every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. So
you're psycho.
Yeah. Every morning now, when I wake up, first thing I do, put on my robe and I go right downstairs and I get in that thing. There's nothing like waking up to 48 degree water. Actually, I've been putting it down to 43 degrees. And you just get in that water and you just like start battling right away. You wake up quick.
Yeah, it is a dopamine rush. It definitely like, I could see me starting to substitute the cold plunge for like coffee.
Yeah.
Like not having to use coffee or.
When I started cold plunging in the morning, I found less of a need for the pre-workout. And I actually did it the other day on accident, forgot my pre-workout at home and went to the gym right after a cold plunge. And I actually felt like awake and totally fine. And I was like, maybe I should start weaning off the pre-workout, but I haven't. I'm going to keep doing pre-workout.
I actually just had my first energy drink the other day in 6 months. So
Didn't you have one in Chattanooga?
Well, that one, yeah. That was half a can that I gave to you after. But so my second one.
I was going to say, we chugged one. we split one.
Yeah, so my first full energy drink, like I finished that can. And that was like, dude, that felt like Adderall. It was crazy. But I've been feeling, like you said, I've been feeling great. And I think it's just all what you put in your body. So
yeah. All right. Well, July 31st, we have an event on Deerco Road. Look us up on Facebook to find the actual address. July 31st, 6 to 9. Everything is free. There's a Facebook link. We just hit 10,000 subscribers on Facebook, which is cool. So that's a big, big thing. We're going to find out if my business survives 2 weeks of me being gone in the next episode, probably, that releases after this one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, July 31st. Shout out to all the people that help us with the podcast. Carl, who edits all of these stuff and has to watch us and listen to us talk. And Eric, who's been a huge help. Eric Campbell, he will grow your social medias, YouTube specifically, but all of our social medias have grown because of him. And he knows the algorithms. And I don't know, Chase can probably speak better on it, but he knows when to do it, what to do. And it's been a game changer for us. So thank you, Eric. Thank you, Carl. And until next time.